You know what time it is, baby. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on in,
Mr.
Lou.
Dinklepush. Mr. Dinklepush! Oh, I think he's afraid of my shadow. Why you be like me? I'm brave because I fear nothing when I am in the right. Whoever pushes me around will find me full of fight. I fear nothing when I do nothing wrong, and so I toddle on my way and sing a merry song.
And that's one to grow on. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all is well with you guys. If you don't mind, please hit the like, share, subscribe. Let me know you've been here. Communicate because I love the give and take. All right, guys, let's talk about producer extraordinaire Pharrell Williams. I guess he's also a fashion icon for some reason. But Pharrell Williams, you guys might know him from Because I'm Happy, the whole happy thing, and he also produced some of some very big hits and things like that. The group that he's in is called NERD, Nerd. They're good. They're very good, by the way. I love their music. But anyway, Pharrell finds himself in a bit of a crossfire. On the outs, some might say, because he was giving his opinion about where we go from here as black people now that the concept of DEI seems to be kind of boiling down. You know what I mean? Like it's on the way out. So what do we do from here? Where do we go from here? And a lot of people don't like what he had to say. So let's get into what Pharrell Williams had to say about this. And you can tell me whether you agree with him, whether you feel like he was way out of line. Let's check it out, guys. All right. Let's see what we have here. Pharrell, come on in. All right. There he is. All right, let's bring it back. Let's see what Pharrell has to say. Listen up.
As we look at what's going on in the current political climate, I'm just saying I don't want to turn anybody off. I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division.
Okay. All right. See, he says he hates politics. He doesn't like to deal with politics. He doesn't believe in picking a side because he feels like if you pick a side, you're kind of diving into division. Okay, now see, here's where it starts to go off the tracks a little bit because we all know that today in 2025, about to be 2026, black people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear that you have to, not pick a side. They don't, because right now we're living in the age of Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like dog hearing at this point. When you talk about both sides, immediately a lot of the black people who unfortunately get their marching orders from the American Society of Magical Liberals, what they hear is, what do you mean? You mean to tell me that, Donald Trump, you got to be on Donald Trump's side or you can't be opposed to Donald Trump? Because you can't say that you can't be on either side because that makes it seem like Donald Trump and the Dixiecrats are somehow equal and everybody knows that Donald Trump is Satan. So people don't want to hear that. So right off the bat, he's starting off wrong by saying that both sides are equally as fucked up. Nobody wants to hear that. All right, so let's continue.
That it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just got to say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up, and then, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So
okay, all right, listen up. This is what he's saying right here. The well is drying up. Now that diversity, equity, and inclusion are off the table. All right, let's face the facts here. It is what it is. Anywhere you go, if you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, people roll their eyes. People don't want to hear about it. People are just like, oh my God, this again. We have to face the facts. They took it too far. Okay, now keep in mind what I always say for black people: diversity, equity, inclusion benefited white women more than anything. And I know it's an inconvenient truth, but black people, we had our civil rights movement over 40, maybe 50 years ago. Okay, anywhere you go in America for the last 40, 50 years, you'll see black people. Anywhere you go up the ladder, you'll find some black people. You know, you knock on a door of one of the biggest houses that you can think of out here, and go figure, there might be a black person who answers the door, and it ain't Jeffrey the butler. You know what I mean? They actually live there. I mean, back in the 70s, they had a song where we're moving on up to the east side to a deluxe apartment in the sky. The Jeffersons in the 70s. They were telling you that black people were moving on up. That wasn't just on TV. These were strides that black people were making. This is the reason why we say that we're proud to be who we are. We're proud to have gone through some of the things that we went through because we came out of it stronger. We have persevered. We have overcome. A lot of us have. You know what I mean? So by the time we got around to diversity, equity, and inclusion, you got to look around, man. You got to ask yourself, who was benefiting from that more than anything, especially in the last few years, right? You're talking about transgenders, homosexuals, things like that. You know, that's the struggle. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the struggle. I'm just saying that that's basically primarily what this modern struggle for DEI is about. Black people took it up and threw it on our backs like it was all about us, like we didn't have a history of fighting for and achieving these goals over the last 40, maybe 50 years. You know what I mean? But what Pharrell is saying here is now that these things are off the table, because quite frankly, like I said, we took it too far, you know, or it has been taken too far. It's been shoved down people's throat. You know, people took the death of George Floyd and they enacted all of these initiatives that George Floyd himself, he didn't benefit from that. He didn't know anything about that. George Floyd didn't get that kind of love or consideration in his lifetime. This is just something that people used his death for, which is something I've spoken about on previous videos, how there's no better black man to a lot of us, especially here in the black community, no better black man than a dead black man, because everyone is allowed to now use that dead black man to further their ambitions. And you saw that in no clearer than you did with George Floyd. All right, moving on.
No, and then, okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there black people in there tonight?
All right, he's about to go wrong here, but I just want you to understand, follow what he's saying. Now that there's no diversity, equity, and inclusion, how do we survive? He's talking about a matter of survival. What do you do when no one is giving you that head start, when they're taking off the training wheels, in other words? Because let's face it, that's basically what it is. You know, now it's sink or swim. What do you do to survive? What do you do to put food on the table, to keep lights on? What do you do?
And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best?
You understand what he's saying? Do you want a job just because you're black, or because you're the best, because you're qualified? Do you want people to invest in or support your startup simply because you're black, or because you're the best? This is what I've been talking about all along, guys. You know, I know a lot of people don't follow me when I say this, but I've been saying this for years. Black people will never get anywhere until we identify ourselves as human beings, able to compete with other human beings over just being black, thinking that someone owes you something, owes you a handout, owes you a hand up, owes you training wheels. And this is what he's talking about. Do you want that consideration because you're black, or because you are the best? You tried your best. You worked the best. You are you're qualified like the best. Anyway, that's the question. Simple question. Simple question. Because you're black or because you're the best?
Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Right. So I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color.
Oh, okay. So what he's talking about, if you have a black business, do you want to support that business simply because they're black? Or do you want to support that business because they're the best, because they excel? You know what I mean? We've all had that experience. Let's keep it all the way funky, guys. We've all had that experience where you wanted to buy black. You wanted to patronize black. And it sometimes, not all the time, not all the time, but all too often, it doesn't go the way we would hope that it would go. All right? They don't value your business. They don't. You know, a lot of them don't. They think that somehow because we're keeping it in the family, then, you know, you can give me a hookup, you know, you can give me a break here or there. You know what I mean? Even though the quality might not be up to snuff, you're buying black, my brother, my sister. You know what I mean? The expectation has to be there. Not just that we're black. It's fine that you're black. But also, there has to be a concept of actual quality. There has to be a concept of actual, you're getting something that is a higher standard, you know? Like, that has to be it, man. We have to have higher standards of one another. It just can't be because you just can't say to somebody, buy black. What does that even mean if it doesn't come with excellence, if it doesn't come with the best? This is what he's talking about. You have to have higher standards, higher expectations of yourself. I don't see what's wrong with that, but let's wrap this up.
Should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on, and if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I want to focus on being the best because I can bank on that. Because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, you know, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out of the room because I'm the best. As we look at what's going on.
Okay. All right, guys. So listen, man, I love it. I don't have one single problem with what he's saying. Okay. I mean, basically, he's saying that you have to have something that you're bringing to the table that nobody else has. What he's talking about is competing, like bringing your talents and your abilities to the market in a way that you can compete. You know, if you're running your own business, you are going to have to compete with other people who are in that business. So what are you offering? You know, or if you're going to a job, you have to have a skill set that, what he's saying is, don't let me out of the room. You'll recognize a genius, or you recognize someone who is of a higher standard, and you won't want to let them get away. You know what I mean? Fellas, it's like, you know, a lot of us, when we're ready to jump out the window and get married, this is how men think, all right? A lot of men don't just want to get married. You know, a lot of men feel like we have to get married because we don't want to let her get away. She's a good woman. You know, I can't live without this woman. We sing songs about this. You know what I mean? I can't live if living is without you. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. And this is from an employer's point of view. They don't want you to get away because you got it, man. You got it, baby. You're a star. You know, so that's what he's talking about. And I don't have a problem with that, guys. But Pharrell now faces a backlash, because if it's one thing that a lot of black people cannot stand, it's the concept of accountability, of self-empowerment. I never get pushback more on this channel than I do when I talk about these things. Somehow I end up being a coon because I say that we are excellent. We have potential. We can be a lot better than what they say that we are. You know what I mean? But for some reason, that gets my head cut off every time. And I'm sure this is not going to be any different. But let's just scroll down into the comment section. It says here, what if they are the best, but they won't give them the job because they're black? Everything in life is politics. It's not going to stop you. It's not going to stop because you don't acknowledge politics. If you don't do politics, then politics will do you. Let's see. What is Pharrell the best at, though? I don't know what Pharrell is the best at, but I know that the man has a net worth of almost $250 million. So I guess he's kind of good at something. The second question invalidates the first. How do you find out if you're the best if you don't get an opportunity? Many black and brown people need a shot or an opportunity, or just need a shot or an opportunity. Many have even created one a shot for themselves, and it's fallen short. Not because I don't know what this dude is saying. Gotta stop listening, or gotta stop listening after I hate politics. These conversations really be telling. Sounds about white. He's minding the business that pays him, putting his mouth where his money is. So you don't care about politics. Well, politics is thinking about you all the time. What did Malcolm X say about black celebrities again? Yeah, I've made that point too. Malcolm X said you can't trust black celebrities. Well, to me, it's about whether it's right or wrong. Whether there's wisdom in what he's saying or not. I'm not saying you should trust celebrities. I've spoken out against that before and nothing has changed. All right. But I'm saying in this case, guys, why wouldn't you want to believe or make sure that you're the best? Why wouldn't you want your children to believe or make sure that they're the best? Why wouldn't you want to invest in them to make sure that they're the best? I mean, after all, if, like he said, if you have your own startup, if you have your own business, well, you have to be in a position to offer the people the best. It's not just about hiring, but once again, here come people with all of these excuses. I don't find anything wrong with what he's saying. You guys can get in the comment section and let me know. Until then, let's look at this. We have The Root. You guys know how I feel about The Root. And it says the comment here, the headline. Pharrell Williams faces backlash on comments about DEI, black people. Although Pharrell Williams is thriving in the fashion world, his controversial stance on politics and DEI just sparked massive backlash online. All right, let's scroll down and see what it says here. I want to kick it off from here. It says, folks online couldn't help but think Williams' comments totally prove just how out of touch he is with the lived experience of everyday, regular black folks. His opinion completely negates the fact that for centuries, black people were denied opportunities solely based on the fact that we were black. Our merit and skills be damned. The whole reason DEI initiatives were even a thing were to ensure that we got considered to the same degree for opportunities, access to schools, housing, etc. as everyone else. That was equal opportunity. That was affirmative action. DEI, I believe, is something different, especially in its modern, form. Additionally, as a black person in America, you can't bank on being the best in the room. Oh my God. You can't bank on being the best in the room as a black person in America. Motherfucker, I can't take this. You hear my voice? It's like I'm losing my voice. I can't. Bro, you got to believe in yourself. When I grew up, this is what we were taught. What has changed? You can't bank on yourself because of racism. Racism will always exist. Discrimination will always exist. And whether you know it or like it or want to accept it or not, black people can be racist too. All right, if you are in a position to hire and fire, as a lot of black people are in this country, then black people can be racist. If you're in a position to seek out somebody else and bust their ass, you can kick their ass, you can punch them in the face, that can be racist as well. All right, you can't use these things as an excuse. This is the danger in what Michelle Obama was talking about before. Every fucking excuse in the world. It's my hair. You don't like my hair. When did we become like this? This is terrible. Bro, you got two choices. Either you do or you don't. Do or do not. There is no try. This is where it all crosses. I'm a Star Wars fan. You guys know this. Those are the only choices you have in life. You do or you don't. So you can lay down on the floor, ass face down, ass up, and you can take it from the rest of the world. And you can teach your children to assume that position. Or you can get off your sorry ass and you can die trying. 50 Cent, He had an album called Get Rich or Die Trying. He didn't say get rich or, I don't know, they might be racist. No. Die trying. Live on your feet. Get up. This is what I'm talking about. It says here, naturally, once the front and singer's words began going viral, countless black people couldn't wait to drag him through the mud for his remarks. Pharrell has been an idiot when it comes to politics for a while. A black man raised in the South espousing apolitical rhetoric isn't something to be taken seriously politically. It's dangerous, willful ignorance. He knows that. He just wants to be a contrarian as a D.E.I himself, said one user on X. Okay, look. Political differences aside, if you want to be part of the political system, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of our ancestors, forefathers, fought for that right. All right. I wouldn't deny that. Pharrell's political opinions are his alone. All right. That is a whole different subject. What he's talking about, the idea of being the best that you can be, that's something different. Okay, if you want to attack him on his stance, his opinion, his personal opinion about the nature of politics, then you can do that. Won't do you a whole hell of a lot of good, but you can do that. The concept that I'm talking about here is about whether it behooves you, whether it benefits you or not, to be the best that you could possibly be. We heard this from Anthony Mackie too last year. Remember Anthony Mackie, the black Captain America, the D.E.I. Captain America? Remember him? He also said, it doesn't matter how hard you try. This is the message that we're giving to our people. And we wonder why we're in the condition that we're in. Guys, if you carry yourself and believe yourself to be a loser, you're going to take that L every time. Every time. I don't care how uphill the climb might be. You have to try. That's what it is. Everyone knows that racism exists. Everyone knows the history of Black Wall Street and all of those things. But this is 2025, about to be 2026. You must continue. Otherwise, you disgrace those people. Do we support each other or not? So if you get yourself in a position to own a black business, we should be okay then, right? Because black people, well, we'll support each other, won't we? Says the man who's doing a video that's probably going to get like 100 views, who supposedly has over 13,000 subs. We don't support each other. And that's the point that I made before, all right? It begins at home. But these excuses, it's disgusting. I get back on here and I keep going. You don't see me stopping. You know, I might talk about what YouTube does and everything like that, but you don't see me lay down and stop because I love you too much, even though you hate on me, even though I got to be the coon. Anyway, for Pharrell to monetize his blackness and benefit from black money and then tell the black folks he's left behind not to pursue political outcomes that will keep them safe from the harms they helped him buy his way out of is callous as fuck, wrote another. One user expressed, I respect blatant Republicans more than niggers. I don't care if it says niggas. That's just a speech impediment. The word is niggers. Nobody calls black people niggers more than black people. I respect blatant Republicans more than niggers like Pharrell. Because nigger, why is your backbone a gummy worm? You don't stand for nothing? Another user added in part, not picking a side means being complicit for policies that impact the most marginalized people. Sidebar, DEI isn't about getting a job because you're a minority, but leveling the playing field. By the way, white women have benefited the most. Okay, so we already established that. All right, but what they tiptoe around when they talk about politics and everything is that they don't want to acknowledge that the most fucked up areas in America, the most fucked up cities, run over with crime, little children getting shot in the head every weekend, every day for that matter, are in Democrat-run cities. So who holds them accountable? Who holds them accountable? Because you know what's fueling this? What's fueling this is anti-Trump rhetoric and beliefs, all right? Because like I said, they've been conditioned to believe this. When you talk about politics, there's only two ways you can go. You can go pro-Trump or anti-Trump. That's where we are today because we expect nothing from the Democrats except to show us a smiling black face. I can't believe Kamala Harris didn't win. She didn't win because she wasn't qualified, dude. It takes more than just a smiling black face, all right? It also takes ability to make people believe in you. Clearly, she did not do it because she didn't get in. And you can blame it on racism all you want, but this is the same country that elected Barack Obama as president twice. And he is a biracial man. You know, I never say he was the first black president because he wasn't. He was the first biracial president. Nonetheless, he wasn't white and he got elected twice. Okay? So what is it, man? You can't have it both ways. But anyway, all right, I've been going on for a while. I know I make these long videos, but guys, remember, I make these videos because I want a larger context. But what I usually do is I cut them up into shorts or highlights. I use them as highlights, my shorts. So you might want to check that out too. Check out the shorts and stuff like that. And then I get attacked because there's no context, bro. The larger videos, the context. But anyway, there it is. That's what Pharrell had to say, and you can see what's going on. Pharrell is being, you know, just universally burned at the stake because he had the gall, the nerve to say that you need to compete. You need to make yourself the best, all right? You're not going to stop racism, bro. You're just not. This is the reality of it. There will always be discrimination in the world, all right? But what makes it worse is when you're a crybaby about it, when you use it as an excuse. Remember, guys, we never did this before. That's what you need to understand. Racism was a lot more prevalent in the past than it is now. But we got up. We kept fighting. We kept going. We kept walking. We kept holding ourselves to a higher standard. When we weren't allowed to read, we kept on trying to read. We kept on valuing education. We kept on being aware of the negative imagery of black people. Now we just accept it, bro. We can't continue this way. It's not sustainable. There's nothing wrong with what he had to say. All right, now it's your turn. You can get in the comment section and you can let me have it. And I know a lot of you will, because you'll pick out certain little words, certain little triggers, and then you'll come at my neck. How dare you say this? How dare you say that? But guess what, bro? There's nothing I said. Nothing. Not one thing that was wrong. Black people, you have the potential to be the best. You have the potential to realize your dreams. But sometimes, you actually have to fight for it. I don't know about you, but I'm built for this. I'm going to make sure my son is built for this. Unfortunately for me, I was raised in a time where we believed all of that stuff, you know, about you can't do this or you can't do that. It takes so many of us way too long to learn the truth of it. That there's no lock on the door. There's no lock on the cage. Open it up. Realize your potential. And if it's too late for you, if it's too late for some of us who are Gen Xers and millennials, raise your children to understand that. Get ready for the fight. There will be no red carpet that's rolled out for you. It's not for anybody except for the highest of people in privilege. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Of course it does. But it's not what you think it is. All right? Ready yourself for the fight or die trying. All right, guys. Get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about all of this. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Thank you for putting up with me. I will catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.